Welcome to another edition of Interviews with the Masters. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Matthew Ament, and what I've done is flip the script. I took over the captain chair and I put John Stallone, your normal host, in the interviewer seat today. What we're going to do is give you a little background first on John, and he's going to answer some questions about our hot topic for this year. Now, a little bit about John Stallone that you may not already know. Besides being the marketing director for the Hunting Channel Online, he has a master's in science in rangeland management and ecology from Colorado State University. He's a certified deer steward from Quality Deer Management and from Clemson University. He's a certified wildlife manager from Penn Foster. John's also a very distinguished author. He's written 2 books, one called The Whitetail Blueprint and the other called The Secrets of Hunting Western Big Game. So, what you already know about Interviews with the Masters is we take questions throughout the year online from our Ask the Pros section. And the hottest question this year so far has been trophy hunting versus meat hunting. Where are you? Are you a trophy hunter? Are you a meat hunter? Are you an opportunist? Are you on the fence? And whatever happens, happens. What we've done, we put John in the hot seat. We're going to ask him some questions and go from there. Okay, John, so in the intro, we heard about your educational background and your accolades that have got you to this point in your life. Tell us a little about yourself that we don't know.
Well, I'm a father of 2, and actually have 1 on the way. My wife is pregnant with a baby boy, and I have 2 beautiful girls.
That's going to be a game changer.
Oh, yeah. I'm already planning hunting trips. But I run a construction company. I also run a hunting marketing company called Market My Healthy Business. A lot of you know that I run a TV show called Days of the Wild. And I've been producing that show since 2004, so for the last 10 years. And, I wear a lot of hats. I do. I just dabble in a little bit of everything. And just anything that gets me out there and gets me, involved in the sport of hunting and involved with kids and my family and stuff like that, I do.
So speaking of that, how did you go from an East Coaster, where obviously the hunting industry is huge and the hunter numbers out there are probably higher than anywhere else in the world. How did you get there to the Southwest?
Well, I moved to Arizona when I was 16 years old, so my parents came out here for, just looking for a better quality of life. And I really didn't have a choice. I was 16, so I got torn out of. At the time, I lived in Long Island, and we came here. Luckily, I had 2 of my cousins lived here, and, so it wasn't too bad of a transition. But yeah, my hunting experience, my early hunting experience was all whitetail, eastern whitetail, especially in New York and Pennsylvania and Jersey a little bit. So coming out west was different. Everything's different out here. From landscape to the animals to the way people hunt.
Now speaking on that, being an East Coast hunter, whitetail hunter, I would think a lot of your time would be spotting and stalking at close range as well as tree stand hunting. How do you go from that background to this wide open western hunting where your binoculars do most of the work?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a transition for me. And I'm kind of a self-taught hunter. My family's, I come from a hunting family, but their idea of hunting back east was you put on an orange suit, you go sit underneath a tree, not even in a tree stand, and freeze your butt off, wait for a deer to walk by, and that was my early years of hunting. And I got introduced to hunting really early. My family argues back and forth whether I was 4 or 5 years old when I was involved in the taking of the first deer that I was involved in. I think I was 5. My dad says 5, my mom says 4. But so I've been involved in deer hunting for a long time. It's just it's a real different game out here. So when I came out here, plus none of my family members bow hunting, so I picked up bow hunting 28 years ago. I started archery shooting and wanting to hunt with a bow. I had one cousin in New York that had some interest in it, and him and I kind of dabbled in it. Never did any real good back east when I was young, but after I had moved here, I was 16. We moved, and I used to go back every year to go hunt in New York, and that's when I started getting, learning the tricks of the game. I did a lot of reading. And at the time, whitetail hunting was still, that was the sexy thing to do in hunting. That was a romantic thing to do. And everybody that was coming up in the world was a good whitetail hunter. You didn't hear about, I mean, yeah, there was the exceptions to the rule, but elk hunting and antelope hunting and moose and that and all that stuff, that was, stuff of...
the Western hunting wasn't taking form yet. It wasn't as popular as it is currently.
It's much, much larger today than it... obviously there was always guys doing it, but it wasn't in the spotlight. There wasn't any hunting shows out there. All the guys that are, all the old school guys that are still doing hunting shows now, they were all doing just whitetail hunts. It's still, whitetail's still the king. So that's where I cut my teeth. But I've been living here for 25 years, so I've been a Western hunter for a long time as well. I just excelled in whitetail hunting first before I got good at it, or better at it. I should say good, because I'm not going to consider myself a good hunter. But
now, being a Western, living here for so long and being a Western big game hunter now first, and a whitetail hunter, I would say second, but it comes second fiddle to your Western hunts. Give our audience a tip. What's one thing that you've learned over your long years of experience that will help the guy that isn't being successful all the time? He may see animals, he may not see animals, but he just can't close the deal as an archery hunter. What is one tip? It could be from gear to scent control to anything. What's one thing that has changed the way you've hunted no matter where you go?
Honestly, I think scent control is my biggest thing. I think that's what I put my biggest investment on. And I get in arguments with Western guys all the time because they're like, oh, well, you're spotted stalking, you're hiking, you're gonna be sweating. One of the things I did coming up is I did 4 years of infield testing for a company called Hunt Tech that was developing or scent-free products for other companies. And so I did a lot of research on scent elimination and scent control. And I would go like on a guided hunt and be in the lodge and stuff like that, and see guys sitting at the dinner table in their camouflage, and they're bitching about how they didn't see anything that day and blah blah blah. And I'm like, look at you guys. You spent the money on rubber boots. You're wearing this beautiful scent-lock suit, but you're sitting here eating at the dinner table in that outfit, and you're going to go hunting with that tomorrow morning. I try to bring a set of camo for every hunt, so one for the morning, one for the afternoon. And I do that with whitetail world, I do that when I'm hunting muleys and elk and everything else. Because, yeah, you're going to play the wind, but you can't control the wind. You can't control thermals. You can come around a rock and the wind's going one way and all of a sudden it starts swirling. So if you can eliminate scent and make that animal think that you're either further away, or that the scent is a little older, that you had passed through earlier, or that it's not enough to get him on edge, or he just makes him alert instead of blow out of there and run away. I mean, I think scent control is my biggest.
I think it's a very great point. You can't control the wind, but you can control your scent to an extent.
Yeah,
so you're eliminating one more variable out there in the field to help you be successful.
And if anything, that would be the thing that I would suggest, is try to eliminate the things that you can control, because there's so many things about hunting that you cannot control. So anything that you think that you can control, I practice for the game. So if I'm going to go hunt for elk, I'm going to practice shooting my bow like I'm hunting for elk. I'm going to be sitting on my butt behind a tree, shooting at a target. Those things. Those are the things that in the end make the biggest differences.
Most definitely. Practice how you play. Always.
Exactly. You're not going to practice baseball and go play football.
No, it definitely doesn't work. Okay, so the hot topic for this year from our Ask the Pros has been trophy hunting versus meat hunting. So, John, with all your experience and all your education in the outdoor industry and in the wild, where do you find yourself? Trophy hunter or meat hunter?
Well, if you asked me that question 20 years ago, I would have said meat hunter, hands down. And part of that stems from the fact that, 20 years ago or even longer than that, you paid $25, you got your tag, you hopped on your bike, you went down to the woods, and you shot something. You know, I mean, it wasn't that easy, obviously, but you get what I'm throwing at you. And bow hunting then was still like an anomaly. You know, we were an elite group. Now everybody bow hunts. So it was more about the method of which you took the animal than the animal itself. So like, just because you got it with a bow, it was a trophy, and you were happy to harvest the meat, and you didn't care. You just back then I was so like I was anti rangefinder when they came out. I was like, oh, that's cheap. I want to get it with my bow. I don't want a rangefinder, you know. So it was more about the method back then than the actual rack, you know, for me. So I was more interested in harvesting an animal, and it just needed to be the way I harvested was the trophy for me. You know, somewhere along the line, I mean, even up to about 6 or 7 years ago, if you asked me, I would probably say I was a trophy hunter. Somewhere along the line, I changed. And probably when I started getting paid to do this, you know, 2003, I think is when I got my first sponsorship, somewhere in there. In 2004, we started producing Days in the Wild, and the hunting channel came about and all that stuff. So I started trying to keep up with the Joneses, you know. I started feeling the pressure of my peers. And there was no Facebook. There was no, you know, social media then. So it wasn't quite as bad, but I put that pressure on myself. Even though nobody was saying anything to me, or I didn't really need to get social proof from anybody, I did put a lot of pressure on myself. And I started not liking hunting. It's funny. I had a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. Like, you know, oh yeah, I got a 135-inch buck. I made Pope and Young, whatever. And it just started losing it for me a little bit. And
do you parallel that loss of the adventure to being so focused on providing proof of your expertise in hunting through the animal you shot?
Yes, I do. I just felt like I was beating myself up so much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still had some really great experience, and I got a lot of stories of the one that got away. You know, I still have those stories. I can still sit around a campfire with the best of them and spit out, you know, the 180 that I missed. I still, to this day, can't even think about it. But, you know, a lot of it just came from the fact that I was beating myself up, I think. Not as much that I was too focused to experience everything else. It's just that I wasn't allowing myself to enjoy everything about hunting. So, you know, and I guess if you asked me that question today, I would say I'm neither a trophy hunter or a meat hunter, or both a meat hunter and a trophy hunter.
So you find yourself on the fence, as we were speaking of earlier. Do you consider the opportunity that's placed in front of you to be the deciding factor? Like it's your fourth day in, the wind's been right all day, that 140 class buck happens to be bedded in the absolute perfect spot. Mm-hmm. It's not that you've seen bigger deer all day, but this one is perfect. Like God put it there for you to harvest.
Yeah.
Is that when you make the determination that I'm not a trophy hunter anymore? I'm going after this opportunity because it's perfect? I mean, how do you get on the fence, and how do you teeter to the finally releasing that arrow and being one or the other?
You know, and I don't even think it's being on the fence for me. I think I classify myself as I'm an experience hunter. I'm going out there for the experience, no matter what, win, lose, or draw. And I started enjoying everything about the hunt. You know, again, like I said, about 6 years ago, I like a switch flipped, and I started saying, you know what? I need to enjoy the air, the trees, the birds, everything else is going around. Look at where I'm at. I'm on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. There's not a person for miles. Or I'm with my family. I'm out in the field, and we're trying to get my nephew. You know, I started looking for the things that I found that were in the spirit of the hunter, the soul of a hunter. Why I got into hunting. I got into hunting to spend with my family and my friends. I got into hunting to be, you know, it was a connection that I needed to be with the earth. And that sounds kind of, you know, a tree hugger-ish or whatever, but it's the only time I feel like I'm me is when I'm out there hunting. I think it's not something I do. It's not something I'm passionate about. It is me. And so when I stopped worrying about whether or not I was going to get a 180-inch muley or, you know, shoot a 400-inch bull or whatever the case may be, when I see something that I like, if it's going to make me happy, that's when I go for it. And I can't tell you what it is. I can't say, oh, it's a situation, like you said, you know, a bedded buck that I can't pass up. So I just got back from hunting Wyoming. And I had in my head that I set myself a goal. And it's the first time I've done this in a long time that I have 0 big velvet muley on my wall. I have a bunch of little dinky forkies and spikes, and I got one 4-point that I shot a couple years, matter of fact, with you, I shot a couple years ago. And, you know, they're not big. And I really wanted a big muley. It's just something that I wanted. And I said to myself, you know what, John? For once, err to the side of trophy hunter. Just go out there, and because that was what was going to make me happy. I didn't have a set of inches. I just wanted one that I thought that I looked good. I didn't say, oh, it had to be 160 inch. I had 170 inch, whatever. And I was on big bucks the whole time. Matter of fact, the first hour I was out in the field, 150, 160 inch buck walked down the ridge right beside me as I was glassing, and I missed. I missed the buck. Chip shot, missed him, 55 yards. I ranged him up, there was a little bush, got 45 yards, shot right underneath his legs. Rookie mistake. But, you know, in the end, I ended up shooting like a 130-inch hard-horned buck. And I didn't regret it. It was a last minute, literally. I had about an hour left to hunt before we had to race back to the hotel room. I almost didn't make the plane. Race back to the hotel room, get my gear, and go catch a plane in Gillette. That last morning, I found the big buck that I had been after the whole time. And I was literally 10 seconds. If I had gotten to the spot 10 seconds sooner, I would have got that buck. And I would have had that 170. I didn't even know where he scores, to be honest with you. He's just a big, boxy velvet muley. He looked beautiful to me. That's me. If I see something in the binos, I'll sit there and try to score him. I said, he looks good. I want him.
Yes,
he's gonna. You know, it's a yes or no. It's not, and that's what it is. It's not. You know, I don't set a goal for myself, meaning an inches goal. I'm not going out there. It's got to be a 330 bull or better, or I'm not going to shoot it. If he steps out and he's got this cool, wacky thing and he scores 280, I don't care. He looks cool to me. It's going to make me happy to shoot him.
Now, speaking on that, and speaking on being a happy hunter at the end of the adventure, being the society that we have currently, everything is driven through social media. Everything. Expectations, reputations, who people think that you are, because they say nobody has 5,000 friends, right? Let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get on Facebook as an outdoorsman, you feel the pressure from all 5,000 of those strangers. So just like our pro tips, how do you give advice to the hunter that's feeling that pressure? They're not a professional, but they're part of your 5,000 friends or your 20,000 friends or even your 200 friends.
Right.
But they're going out on maybe their first hunt ever or even their 100th hunt. But they feel that pressure to set an expectation to have this extremely beautiful animal in their hands, this trophy picture that's going to set them alongside all these other friends that are just strangers, but they feel that internal pressure from the time they get that tag until the time they get back and either post that picture to be proud of,
right,
or they post that picture that everybody hates. It may not be the biggest on the mountain, or it may not be the one I was after, but
Right.
that has to be the worst comment that I personally hate to see. This wasn't this, but I liked it. How does someone get over starting their adventure picture, their trophy picture with that statement? How could they show, no matter what it is, as proud and as happy as they should if it was the biggest animal on the mountain?
Right. It just goes back to what we were just saying earlier. I mean, it's about being happy. Listen, if you're going to regret shooting that animal, then don't pull the trigger. If you're going to go home and you're going to feel bad about yourself because you shot a lesser buck or a lesser bull, don't shoot it. But if you're going to be happy and you're going to allow other people to make you feel unhappy, that's a whole different other,
Right. We've lost ourselves already.
Yeah, I mean, and I find myself doing it all the time because I think even when I post my picture of my Wyoming muley, I said something to the fact that it wasn't my, it wasn't the one I was after, but, and I didn't say it because regrettingly, I had so many opportunities that I couldn't do it.
Right.
And
you try to fulfill.
I wasn't really saying it. I wasn't, at least in my mind's eye and my heart of hearts, I don't think I was saying it because I was worried about what other people would think. Because I really don't give a crap, to be honest with you.
Right.
I've been in this long enough, and I've beat myself up. Nobody beats themselves up. I mean, nobody beats me up more than I beat myself up. And I know there's tons of guys out there that are way better hunter than I am, and consistently take down giants, year in, year out. And, I never claim to be, I don't even claim to be the best hunter in Scottsdale. So, let alone United States or Arizona or anything like that. What I am is a guy that you can put me in any state, under any circumstance, and I'll make something happen.
So how did you, well, let me ask you this directly, because people look up to you, and you're a professional in this industry. Put it out there on the line. When you're online, and you're looking at everybody else's pictures, do you judge them? I mean, do you say, oh, well, everybody says, the huge, when they're huge, they're huge. Let's be clear. Everybody oohs and ahs, no different than a fancy car that goes down. But when the guy that you barely know, or the guy you've known your entire life, posts a small deer or a small elk, do you give him crap about it, or do you call him up and say, hey, tell me this, I want to hear the story?
I don't know if I get that intimate with the guys that I don't know, but the guys that I do know for sure, I do. I always want to, I want to know what happened. But I think I find myself looking for guys who are posting up those little forky horns, or the girl who just took her first buck, or the kid that Thompson Wagner just whacked his first bull.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's not a giant, but hell,
I shot him too.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
So, and it's just like, and for those who don't know, Thompson Wagner is a kid that is in the Archery Club, and he's a hell of a little archer, and he's gonna be something in the archery industry for sure. I love to see that stuff. I love to see people with I posted something about my father-in-law, and he shot in 2012. He shot his first antelope. I mean, he couldn't have scored 20 inches total. He was 6 inch on each side, and he had like half-inch prongs. And he had this big shit-eating grin on his face, and he was just so happy. He looked like you would have thought, and how happy he was, like just hugging and slapping backs with everybody, and there was about 5 of us in camp, and he was just all night long, and he bought everybody dinner. I mean, he was so happy, you would have thought he killed a world record. And that's what I mean. I mean, that's what I want to see. That's what I want people to be happy about, what they've accomplished. Who cares about how much more
That's right. The seasons come and go, the animals come and go, but the one thing that always stays is your story, your experience, your memory, what you took from the outdoors, what you took that God gave you out there. That's the most important thing to remember. From the time you kiss your wife until the time you kiss her again, what happens when you're away from society and electronics and bills and jobs? You have the closest relationship to your heritage that you'll ever have.
Yeah.
To be a hunter, to be a gatherer, to be a survivalist, and to be a person of the woods or a person of the earth, a steward as you are to the land.
Right.
And to pass that on, I think me and you won, and everybody in the outdoor industry really needs to get back to the roots and the basis of this outdoorsmanship, is congratulating everybody for their success.
Yep.
and helping along through the struggles. The struggles hurt.
Yep.
And they stay with people, and people, like you say, they beat themselves up way more than others will beat them up.
Right.
But they have to understand, it's an experience. And you're trying to step in another animal's environment and be invisible and harvest them. That is probably one of the hardest things any person can do,
Oh, yeah.
especially with the bow and arrow.
For sure.
Okay, John, so as you know, we could probably sit around here and debate this topic for hours on end.
Oh, for sure.
And as we both know, this is a conversation and a topic that'll probably never be one. You can never be, Ford versus Chevy, bow versus gun. This is just one of those topics. There's going to be two different types of hunters and outdoorsmen out there. Our best advice is just to enjoy it. Enjoy every step of it.
And I think, you said the key word there, one. And I think that we should stop wasting time as hunters.
Right?
Button heads about it. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at the anti-hunting groups out there, they're far better organized than we are. And you see how quick stuff just goes
Viral.
just not. Look at Cecil the Lion thing. I mean, come on, the whole world knew about it. So anytime we do something good in our industry, it only goes viral within our industry.
Right.
It doesn't go viral worldwide. But when we do something bad,
It escalates very quickly.
so it's just like one of these things. And a hunter goes out there and he does something stupid or whatever, then all of a sudden, all hunters are bad. It's a crappy situation. So we need to be really vigilant about how we present ourselves out there. And I don't think we should be wasting time arguing, about what bow you shoot, if you wear a flat brim hat or, a mesh hat, or just stupid stuff that we get into. We get into arguments about, the gun hunting versus the bow hunting, and the diehards versus the weekend warriors. And it's dumb. I think we waste a lot of time, a lot of energy on it. And it sounds funny, but can't we just all get along,
I think that one thing, time is the only thing that we share, right? You're only going to be able to hunt for so long.
Right.
So in the time that you're allotted to hunt, we need to stay together and be one and congratulate each other and promote each other and help each other through the good and the bad times. As we said earlier, it's just the outdoor industry is so small, even though it seems so big.
Yeah.
We need to help each other and promote each other. So just a quick recap of today. We got to know John, who does an excellent job of being an outdoorsman and being a professional outdoorsman and bringing excellent content to you. John, what do you want to end on? How do you want to close out your segment that you've done so much for so many other people? How do you want the readers and the watchers to remember you and remember this segment?
Well, not necessarily remember me, but I'd say the takeaway points are just those couple things we just last talked about now. Where if you got a bunch of extra energy, spend it doing good instead of wasting breath on some guy that shot a small buck or shoots a Hoyt and not a Matthews, or just don't be silly. If you got extra energy to spend on that, go do something good with it. Get involved in a conservation organization or something that promotes what we do. And just a closing note, I going back to what we were talking about, giving guys tips and stuff like that, I'd say practice for the game. Take the time to try to eliminate the things that you can control. Eliminate the possibilities of having something fail or stuff that you can control, I would definitely spend the time on those things and not worry about the things that you can't control. So.
Great advice. Great interview, John. It was a pleasure hosting and being a part of you today. Viewers, simple and easy. Practice the way you're going to play. Eliminate the variables. Eliminate the things that you can control out in the field. Be a great outdoorsman. Be a great person who spreads the word and spreads the good about our industry, and pass it along. Always pass it along.
Absolutely.
So for John Stallone, I'm Matthew Ament, and this is Interviews with the Pros.
Thank you. You have to re-say that.
I know. Interviews with the Masters.
That's all right.
So for John Stallone, I'm Matthew Ament, and this was Interviews with the Masters.